Great. Thank you very much for joining me on stage today. So, I don't know if you're, let me just check, are you sat in the, you've actually managed to fix yourselves in the right seat.
We planned that out.
Very organized.
You worked it out in the slide, yeah. I have a bit of OCD, and when I sit in the audience sometimes, it takes me a few seconds to get my brain right. Anyway, let's kick off. So, as I said, rather than me introduce you guys, I'd rather you introduce yourselves. Why don't we start, Anurag, from the end. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and maybe just something interesting about you or your business.
Sure. And just a quick sound check. I think there's a sound from the back, an echo, which is coming in, so becoming a little difficult to hear you. All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Anurag Agarwal. I'm part of the organization called GMS. We are headquartered in Switzerland. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer on the enterprise side. We've recently gone into a new avatar, which we call the new GMS. AI is becoming a core part of our philosophy. And we are building from being more on the carrier and wholesale side of our business to growing into an all-encompassing AI-enabled communications solutions portfolio. And that's what is my remit. So the likes of Viber, of course, are a very strategic partner for us, and we've been working with them for a lot of years. And like Viber, with a number of other partners also, we are looking at expanding into a whole new world of AI and communication. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm Krešo. Just for you to know me, I'll put my hands like this so you know who I am. I'm VP Products and Infobip, leading CPaaS global provider. And this statement hasn't been built by ChatGPT, but we are building super interesting stuff that I would like to share here with the group.
Hello, I'm Miguel Peñate, and I'm the founder of Reply Next, which is a software that automates replies to reviews online with AI. Before that, I spent 9 years working for Google, where I was leading mobile applications strategy in different countries in EMEA. And fun fact is that I might be one of the only Spaniards here in the room.
Christina, I'm the CRO at Viber. I've been with the company for 7 years now, and I manage the telco business, the advertising business, and the business messaging part. The fun fact is that I'm always amazed at these events when I take a step back and realize how much we have actually achieved with what is considered very little resources compared to some of our competitors. And obviously, this is only thanks to the team. So it's a great moment of truth.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. So why don't we start with AI then? AI seems to be the buzzword at the moment in life generally, but certainly at MWC, it's the one area that we all seem to be talking about right now. So why don't we just go again around everybody? But if I could just ask you the question is it just a buzzword or is there real substance to it? And maybe Christina, can I start with you?
I'm not the right person to ask. Let's just say that even if it's not a buzzword, it doesn't help to literally cram it in every possible sentence and try to find usage for it into everything from managing relationships. I was reading something online the other day to obviously, medical usage and a lot more technological use. So there is some truth in there. Obviously, it's a very relevant piece of technology and it's going to change a lot of things, but I don't think we are fully grasping the potential today. And it would be better to take a step back and think how this can be relevant versus just trying to impose a use for it for virtually everything out there.
Thank you. Miguel?
I think it's an absolute game changer. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left my previous job to build something related to AI. But I think there is a lot that we still need to do around data, how we use the right information to fit every system, and also what we can build on top of AI in order to help companies to grow, to improve, and to have more signals that help them to be better in every single vertical.
Thank you. Krešo?
Yeah, so I think it's not a buzzword. Although there are everybody in this room and every single middle manager in the world got the KPI bring Gen AI into the stack. Out of those 100%, 30% of the people know what the problem is and how to solve it with Gen AI. The 70% is exploring. So we are really trying to help both of them. For the 30%, we have already launched a couple of dozen virtual assistants. For the remaining ones, we are helping them to find the real problem, which could be solved either through Gen AI, either through other means of technology. But it's the trend, and the adoption of Gen AI is dwarfing any other technological innovation. If we compare it with Superapps, we have Viber here, we had WhatsApp and so on. So the interest for those Superapps is not comparable with the interest of Gen AI. So it's really huge in our, I'm talking in the communication space. So it's really, really huge, and people are launching production campaigns, programs, chatbots, messaging programs on powered by Gen AI. So it's a reality.
Great, thank you. Eric?
I feel that while it's just two alphabets, there's actually so much more behind it. I've just come here after a meeting with the MTN group, right? So they're based in Africa. Their first statement to me was that we represent a very poor continent, okay? And you're talking big buzzwords of generative AI. We'd love to understand what does it mean for us before we actually want to open up our entire world to what we call Gen AI. So I think Gen AI, while it's a very sexy buzzword right now, but very honestly, as I see it, it is extremely contextual to every environment. You know, I come from Asia. Asia is actually at the cusp of being like a developed and developing economy of sorts. Okay, we're talking about super apps which have exploded in Asia. But when we look at the larger picture and we look at, they say that where will the next billion consumers come from? That might be Africa, for example, right? So AI will play a role in every market, but its context is very important, its application is very important. Today, every organization, including ours, we say AI, but it is very important that we understand what is the exact use case, what are the exact solutions. You know, I came by InfoBip's booth, of course, and we saw a big banner which talked about AI. And what I liked was that definitely there was a lot more crystallized thinking, but still I think that's still just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more where we have to now start building verticalized solutions, geography-based solutions, and that is where the power of AI will be fully harnessed.
I completely agree. Personally speaking, I've done some work with Oxford University recently, and one of the questions we debated around business and AI applications was, are people putting AI first, or are they trying to fit AI into the solution? And I think that's something we've got to be very mindful of, is that we're not just trying to build something in AI, but whatever it is the customer needs, does AI fit that purpose? So maybe, Cressa, if you don't mind me asking from your perspective, could you just give us a couple of applications? It's a difficult question, so I apologize in advance, but maybe beyond the chatbot scenario, because I think we all know that. That's a very well-trodden path, I think, in and around AI. Are there any other AI applications that you use?
Yeah, so just to reflect on what Anurag mentioned, so we're enabling TIST, which is farmers in Africa, through via chatbots powered by LLM. So we are actually seeing the application also in regions like Africa. So virtual assistance is one area. The next area is the augmentation of the capabilities of the products. We can talk about agent assist capabilities, campaign creation. So basically we are using Gen AI, and we see other companies using it to augment the capabilities of the user personas. So a marketeer, a bot builder, an agent, or a supervisor in a call center can significantly save time by having Gen AI applied in everyday work. But where we see the true potential for CPaaS is the combination of messaging and Gen AI. So intent resolution, sentiment analysis, content summarization within the conversational object is something that CPaaS companies can leverage the power of messaging together with Gen AI. And of course, another opportunity big is the orchestration of LLMs, because you have many big ones. You have micro, you have nano LLMs, customer-specific, vertical-specific, and the brands, when they encounter those, they are scared. They don't know what to do. So creating an orchestrator on top of the LLM infrastructure is something that we are also investing, and we see huge potential there.
Very interesting. So Miguel, if I could come to you for a second. So you left Google, if I understand correctly, and you were responsible for managing applications at Google. You left that role to found your own company around AI. So can you just tell us why you took that giant leap of faith?
So first, my product is very focused on one specific part, which is online reputation, which is super important for companies, especially for those that are physical ones like hotel chains or even restaurants or any like physical store you can find on the streets. And it has become like surprisingly important and relevant how companies treat public reviews online. And I thought that with AI, we could provide a product that companies could use in order to save time and resources of companies to reply them publicly. We can see like majority of the companies, more than 50%, are actually not replying publicly to their customers, which of course creates a bad branding, but also in terms of organic growth, it's bad as well. And when each of us goes on the street and we want to find a good restaurant for tonight, that comes in place, and that's important for performance and KPIs of every business. On top of that, we thought that it's not only about replying customers, but also about what we do with AI in terms of providing right information to the owner of a business, owner of a chain of hotels, on how they operate, what users like, what users don't like. So we thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's put it in place. Let's build the software. Right now, we have more than 25 customers working with us, and we can't wait thinking of new features based on AI in order to provide them to new customers.
Great. So if I boil down a lot of what AI is, I think it comes down to a couple of things. One is it's saving people time. So, as an example, if you're a salesperson, you want to write a proposal, for example, you could use ChatGPT or a similar application. Now, I know that sales guys aren't always great with language sometimes. So if you can use an application that's very good at making the proposal accurate and saving them time, then it's a win-win, really. Let's just touch on the end user a little bit more. Maybe, Cressa, if I can come back to you. What do you think? Are we putting enough attention on the end user?
So we've been talking about the big technological mega trend, which is the Gen AI. However, we are always forgetting about the consumer trends, and that's the end user. The end users, the attention span of us millennials, is decreasing. So we have 3 seconds. We want to do anything very, very fast. And the end user, me personally, I don't want to have an article provided by GPT and then read it and then start replying and so on. I want to click. I want to do things in 3 clicks. And that's where the combination of the super apps like Viber is critical, because you can build the best bot, the best experience, but without a proper channel, without the entry points which are driving you and pushing the adoption, it's completely worthless. And a combination of Gen AI powered solution with the experience that the chat apps, the super apps are providing is the key for success. So I think that's the companies and the brands need to look both in the technology part, but as well in the end consumer, as most often the end consumer experience is the key for success.
I just want to expand on that. Today, the buzzwords within, say, marketing, if you're talking about, they talk about hyper-personalization and micro-segmentation. And that's actually exactly what you spoke about, Nick. And I'm glad Crezo calls us as millennials. I'm still very happy to be termed that. But if you look at it today, I think a marketer's biggest nightmare is how to personalize communication based on the exact requirement. Now, I was at the Google headquarters in Dublin last year, and I remember that Google, for example, is working towards conversational AI, which is catered not only to the geography, but also to, say, the age segment. So the same question when you ask the Google AI assistant based on who you are or what your profile is, the answer and the subtext would be slightly different. Yeah. So to that extent, I feel that AI is definitely playing a big role here. Today we talk a lot about marketing automation and we talk about CDPs, customer data platforms. Now customer data platform is like a huge lake of data, but what do you do with that? And I think that's where the power of AI is again coming in being able to process that information and being able to create unique personas. So, what is it that a Crezo will like? What is it that a Miguel will like? What is it that a Christina wants to receive at what time of the day? She would for sure prefer her messages coming over Viber from the marketers, right? So for sure, this is exactly what now AI is enabling marketers to do. And that, I think, will be the next big game changer. And that's what we are all working towards. We are creating platforms which are intelligent and which are enabling the enterprise to reach intelligently to the end consumer. So I think that's what the next trend is going to be very soon.
I think that's a really interesting point around personalization. We interviewed within our organization a whole group of marketers and product marketers, and they said the biggest thing that they struggle with is the personalization, is to get the same information out to a wide audience, but speak to one person at a time. And I think if an application can solve that, that is the ultimate selling machine, really. So let's switch a bit. Crezo mentioned Superapps. Now, I'll admit, I'll put my hand up, and I'm sure there's other people in the audience would do the same. I hadn't heard of Superapps until probably 6 months ago or so. Now, I'm fairly well immersed in the mobile technology, and I hadn't come across this. So in my understanding or an explanation of this, it's like a Russian doll. So it's like a doll inside a doll inside a doll. And that analogy is the same within applications. It could be a retail, finance, and it could have other elements to it. And I think Rakuten, Viber, and the applications that you have at Viber certainly sum that up very well. So that was just to explain what Superapps are, in case anybody was wondering. But they're more prevalent, I think, from what we've seen around the Asian market. But now it's certainly becoming more and more dominant as things move west. So I guess the question is, how can this impact marketing everywhere? I don't know if you'd like to answer that, Christina.
Marketing everywhere?
Yeah, well, so the short question is, how can Superapps benefit marketing here?
So first of all, the concept of Superapps is not new. They are indeed very well established in Asia, and that's very linked to the specific market conditions and how they access the internet to begin with. Through mobile, which is why you have the likes of WeChat that gave users a range of services that were available through their mobile phone. So we're not aiming to reproduce or to copy what WeChat is doing or what Line are doing, because they are very specific for their markets. However, what we've seen over the years, and we've known this for a while, is that the more apps we have on our phone, the fewer we're using, and ultimately we end up using 3 or 4, out of which at least 1 or 2 are going to be messaging apps. So it makes sense that for marketers, instead of spreading themselves too thin and investing in a website, in an app, and in other properties, you give them a channel where their users or their customers are already there, and you facilitate a conversation with the customers, you facilitate a sales funnel, you can facilitate after-sales customer care in an app that the consumers already have installed on their phone and they are already using. So ultimately, the most important prime real estate on our phones is the first screen. And typically, messaging apps are going to be on the first screen and are going to get most of the attention. So it makes total sense that you're going to want to add, or at least us at Rakuten Viber want to add relevance and utility to our users. And this comes in a form of offering them access to additional services through the app that they're already using, rather than asking them to spend time downloading other apps or looking for contact information somewhere else, or wasting time getting this information in 5 different places. And to obviously Crezo's point, even with AI, you don't want to spend your time reading a long answer or a long article. You want this to happen in the form of a conversation, which is why having access to AI through a messaging app and having a conversational experience can help as well, because it's how you're using the app to begin with, and you're just adding an extra functionality to it, and you're giving access to extra information through it.
Great. Miguel, this must be right in your sweet spot. Anything to add to that?
I think it has a lot to do with the regions and the countries, and we know, you just said it before, but super apps are very popular in Asian markets, and I think in Europe we are not used to use a lot of them, and customers are actually demanding a little bit of that, because the more they use a product, the more features they want to integrate with them, and I'm pretty sure we are going to see way more of these super apps in the future, in the upcoming years, but I see them verticalize a little bit more, so in a sense that in the health sector there will be like more super apps only dedicated to offer like 10, 20 different features for health monitoring or contacting doctors, hospitals, etc., like super apps within verticals. And in a couple of years also like merging some of them for the user benefit. And of course, we would love to have those Asian super apps here in our markets. But users, I think, need a little bit of time, at least in Europe, because we still have like many apps in our phones. On average, we have more than 50 apps in our phones installed, at least here in Europe, which is a lot. So we will see in the upcoming years how this goes.
Is there any recent statistics on that? Because I recall us talking about that a couple of years ago, where people would install apps, but they were very quickly deleted afterwards. Is that still happening?
Yeah, and I think storage of phones has become larger, and therefore people don't uninstall apps. But we have many different apps for many different purposes. For transportation, for hotels, for checking in an airline company. These are just 3 use cases in the travel industry. And then we have like way more for messaging as well. In Europe, we use a few different messaging apps, and therefore you have like 2 or 3. But I think in the future we will have less and less, and definitely some of them will become super apps at some point.
You know, one statistic which I know for sure is that super apps, the market size last year was $60 billion. And it is forecasted to be growing at a rate of about 28% CAGR for the next 4 years. So I think the super apps definitely are here to stay. But I think the Asian success story has to be now replicated into the European space, where it's not been very active. And I think Elon Musk has very boldly gone out there and said that he wants to make X as a super app of all the apps put together. So I think that's a statistic to keep in mind as well.
And maybe just to add on that, so there are the usual suspects, the chat apps, Viber, WhatsApp, Apple, RCS, but there is also Uber, there is Revolut here in Europe, which might become super apps as well. So it's an X, as mentioned. So the super app needs to contain the catalog, the chatting functionality, payments. That's the core when we talk about a super app. So there are a lot of players actually beyond the usual chat apps.
Great. So we've got around 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll open up for questions in a moment that you can ask the panel. Just one final thing from me. Let's just touch on money for a moment. It's why we're doing this, and the commercialization side of it. Anurag, how at GMS would you look at that from commercializing, more of a general, how do you look at commercializing these new technologies like AI or super apps, extended reality, whatever it might be?
As I said before, and literally, I mean, money, my role is around revenue. So the intent out here in being able to create a product is not something which will always work in this new age in technology. We can't have a cookie-cutter AI-based product and expect everyone to come in and pay, say, $100 a pop or something, and that will work through. We will have to contextualize. That is most important if you want to bring in new streams of revenue. Because today, if you just have ChatGPT as a software, for example, available, that alone will not help build revenue. It is important to highlight the key use cases. In fact, in GMS, for example, we are shifting from the traditional paradigm of products to a new paradigm of programs. And we are actually running the entire, it's a struggle for somebody like me also. We are actually rethinking the way we approach our business overall, and rather than just offering certain products and saying, look, this is a whole portfolio we have and choose what you want, we're actually offering 3 sets of programs, which are revolving around customer experience, around revenue, around internal efficiency and optimization. So we are actually expecting to work closely with enterprises and work with them as a partner in these programs and be able to bring out new streams of revenue. So that's like a mindset shift which we are doing at GMS, and we are hoping that through that we can see actual revenue coming in from these new technologies which we are bringing into the foray now. Yeah.
Great. So can we open it to the floor now? Yes, please.
My name is Libor Chlad. I'm from the Union for the Mediterranean. So thanks very much for these interesting insights. I'm looking at it from the viewpoint of a public entity. And there were 2 concerns. It's exciting to hear your predictions about the Superapps in our environment in Europe. I'm missing 2 points maybe. One pertains to the data protection and another one to the competition environment in Europe. You will know that we have just adopted an AI regulation in Europe. I think it's one of the pioneering frameworks. And also the data protection is perhaps the feelings of people about data and to whom they entrust data is maybe slightly different from other parts of the world. So how do you see that? Thanks.
Yeah, I can touch base on that.
Sure.
So what we see, since the AI was launched, there is always questions about regulation, data privacy, security. What we are witnessing, and we have a couple of dozen of clients already live, that the brands are taking care of the regulation. They are regulating themselves because the brands don't want to jeopardize their end user experience. They don't want to expose their private data or their end user data, and they don't want hallucination, toxicity, and so on. So I would say that in the business space, we are in the A2P business. The regulation is happening by itself because the brands are super scared of launching campaigns, publishing private data. So they are keeping the data under GDPR in very guarded environments. So the regulation in the business space is happening naturally due to the brands being very cautious about Gen AI. I fully agree that in the end consumer space, Gen AI for educational purposes, public and so on, there needs to be regulation. But in the business segment, it's happening already naturally because the brands don't want to jeopardize and expose any private data, end user or their own data.
Anything else to add? I'd like to add to that myself, but I can't, so thank you, Chris. So, any other questions, please, from the floor?
If not, I can add something on top of your question. The largest challenge that we have when talking to customers is about privacy and about what we do with the data that we store. If AI will use that data or not to reply publicly to customers, and they are all trying to avoid this information to go public. And probably Europe will be one of the first regions to put rules and to regulate that because it has been doing this for the last probably 10 years, way more than other regions. And that's a trend. That's a trend that we need to cooperate with and that we need to put a lot of resources behind. Otherwise, we won't comply with the industry standards, and it's super important to keep data safe. I think that's one of the things where we need to invest more heavily during the next couple of years, apart from technology. But looking after what we do with data, it's number one key, and it's number one challenge that I hear directly from business owners.
Okay, so just to wrap up then, I'm just going to quickly go down the line, 10 seconds each. We're sat here this time next year. What should we be looking for? What's going to happen in the next 12 months? What one key trend would you mention? Anurag, I'll start with you.
I think AI will become a lot more digestible. We'll understand what it actually means. Still, it's a big buzzword. I'm hoping maybe not if the next 12 months, maybe in the next 24 months for sure. We'll have much more clarity on what exactly is the power that is unleashed through what is called the AI. That's how I see it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris.
I hope that there won't be 5 robots speaking. That's my wish.
That will happen for sure.
Yeah.
I think every company in no more than 2 years' time, they need to integrate AI to communicate with their customers, both publicly when it comes to reviews or any other public information that they share with customers, but also internally. So chatbots without AI won't be useful anymore. Users are already used to speak to humanized chats, and single answers won't be useful anymore in the future. So every business needs to integrate that, and I'm pretty sure that in 2-3 years we will have perfect conversations with every single company in the world in order to benefit customers.
Yeah, I hope that they will use whatever technology they need, be it AI or something else, in order to improve the customer experience and especially the conversational part.
Great, thank you. And if I'm here this time next year, I'm going to get a bot to present this panel next year. So that's my one key trend, and let's see if that happens. So thank you ever so much, Christina, Miguel, Creso, and Anurag. You've been great. Have a great Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.